Welcome to the May edition of Voices from the Hill. I'm State Senator Michael Rodrigues, and I'm once again proud to be joined by my colleagues, members of the Greater Fall River Legislative Delegation, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves. We'll start with Rep. Schmid.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, indeed, this is Representative Schmid. Very happy to be here with my colleagues.
Yes, and State Representative Alan Sylvia. Again, happy to be here. It's the month of May, springtime, and of course, with the lovely state representative, we were just talking about this, Carol Fiola.
And as all of our viewers have seen, I don't even get to get a word in edgewise with Representative.
Oh, yeah.
We were just talking.
You believe that?
We were saying how we've received so many comments and emails of how much better we all look because of Representative Fiola's presence. She brings so much energy and light to this delegation, so we want to thank you for that. I was going to tan.
You went out and got a haircut for
I did
this
get a
event.
haircut for this for the May
Is it
show.
possible to
You
get a
should be a
close-up?
politician with those kind of compliments and accolades.
But I just want to say it's a joy for all of us. Before you came in, we wanted to say that.
They all know how lucky I am to work with such a nice group of guys. And what do I call you?
We are a team.
What do I call you?
The boys.
The boys, exactly.
It works out. It works out.
Hey, boys.
Hey, boys. With usually an idea, we've got to do this. We have to do that. We've got to do this. We're going to bowl. Well, it's May. Spring is here. Flowers are blooming. Finally, we're beyond this winter and deep into budget season at the State House. I know that we've all worked very hard together on identifying and advocating for the priorities that's important to the city of Fall River. And we'd like to start with some of the priorities we worked on.
Well, you're looking down the end. They give the rookie the first bite at the apple here.
Well, we knew you were going to say something anyway, so we.
Your first budget foray.
Well, I'm going to just tell the listeners that and the viewers that, wow, what a process it is. First of all, obviously we got the governor's budget. Now we put together ours, and as soon as we put our budget out, or called the Ways and Means budget, we get calls, emails, and visits by the busloads from people who obviously would like to see more money in their budgets. But before we talk a little bit more about that, the good news that I got to be a part of and with my colleagues was the fact that we did in fact take care of letting the cities and towns know early on of what their Chapter 70, which is the educational funds, what that number would be, and what the unrestricted government aid would be to the cities and towns. And typically, since the city budgets have to be in line and get those budgets in by June 1 to their city council for review and vote, sometimes the state didn't always get it in enough time for them to properly plan and understand. Well, this time we did it, I believe in March, was it? In March.
Yes, it was March.
So we were able to significantly contribute in Fall River over
And what is-
$102 million.
I was going to say, I was going to ask, so what did Fall River?
102 million.
And just under
And
22 million.
Under 22 for
So
Chapter 70.
102 million was in Chapter 70 for K through 12.
And, you know, just to add to that, there were a lot of communities who didn't receive as much in local aid as they had in previous years. And Fall River received a little more. So we are fortunate that we were able to do that. And 80 cents of every dollar of the budget in this city of Fall River comes from state dollars. Now, of course, that's your tax dollars. Those are tax dollars, but we're fortunate that that's coming to us, and of course, that benefits every person in our community. We've all heard about the deficit. We've heard, there were we have an issue that we were sick. We had a $16 million deficit. Now we're down to 3, and that number will probably reduce itself. And we're all working on that. And again, thankfully, and I'll say we're blessed to work together as a team because we're still continuing to work on the budget. We're going to be there in Budget Week next week at the State House, and the Senate will be dealing shortly in May this month with the budget, and we're hoping to reduce still the deficit in the city by looking at the charter school reimbursement, it's the transportation issues, and some other things that we're working on together. So we never stop, and it's been working out well.
Yep, I would have to say, if I may, that we are dissatisfied with some aspects of the current Ways and Means budget. And exactly, Rep. Sylvia, in the area of charter school reimbursement and special education transportation. Those are areas that we are going to be fighting very hard to bring up, and those are ways that we can bring more dollars to Fall River.
Yeah.
And we hope it's going to make the difference, because it isn't only Fall River that's affected by it. Fall River is one of those communities, but there are other cities, especially those urban communities, gateway cities, that are affected in a similar way. So we're not fighting alone, and because of that, I think we'll be able to do something, and I know the Senate feels the same way.
Yes,
So-
it's a process, and as Rep. Viola said, it can be overwhelming. This will be your first budget process, so kiss Ken goodbye on Monday morning, and you might see him Friday evening if you're lucky.
That is the plan.
Yep.
I'm excited
We're gonna
because
see
this
you.
is my second, but I had no clue what I was doing last time. So now I still don't have a clue what I'm doing. No, but now I feel a little more
I know
secure.
more than that.
I know you do. I feel a little more secure, and now I filed in a few amendments, and I filed that amendment for $1 million for domestic violence, for older women in domestic violence, and I'm feeling a little comfortable about that. I'm just happy that we made that change in the domestic violence laws to protect victims of domestic violence. But so I have a better understanding of that process and the good things we're doing collectively. And I know you filed some amendments, and so I know that we're heading in the right direction. And it's nice to sign on to some of those amendments, as we all have done that. And
What a process that was. And
That's,
for the viewers, when you hear these words from us, and a lot of this, we know our language because we deal with it every day, but when, like I said, when the budget came out, it didn't have what everyone might have wanted, because no budget does. But some of the programs down here in our community, whether it be for healthy cities and Mass Motion, whether it be on youth builds that are helping some of the disadvantaged youth, so many programs, something for South Coast hospitals. I mean, it goes on. And so we get the calls and the emails.
And everyone thinks they
asking us.
deserve more. Everyone thinks their program is the best. Unfortunately, we know that that's not true. There are some programs that should be lessened, they should receive less money, and there are some programs that need more.
So we're going to put our boxing gloves on next week. I think that's what it's called, but very soft ones, so that we can go up and say, come on, please, can we just get a little bit more? Can we just get another $1 million here? Can we get another $1 million there? And hopefully, when all is said and done, we will have something that satisfies.
And as we all know, money, as my dad used to always say, money doesn't grow on trees.
Nope.
And Massachusetts has a balanced budget amendment in the Constitution, meaning, unlike the federal government, who seems to have a hard time satisfying their spending needs, they just print more money. We can't do that in the state. So, we have to either determine if we're going to increase any line item, where that money is going to come from. Is it going to come from a reduction in another line item? Is it going to come out of the so-called rainy day stabilization fund? So it's a long process. I remember the days when not only if you filed an amendment, you had to make a corresponding cut from another line item.
That's tough.
I won't mention which one, but I had one of my pet peeve agencies that I had no problem cutting the funding from, and so everything would come, at least proposed coming out of that particular line item.
So we've talked a little bit about our priorities for the budget in education. I also wanted to make mention of our priorities for seniors. And last year in the budget, we were able, for instance, to increase the state payment for Council on Aging from $7 a senior to $8. And we'll be fighting this year to increase that further. And another big win last year for seniors was eliminating the wait list for home care, which is so important to keep our seniors at home. You and I were talking about that.
And I'm so fortunate to sit on the Joint Committee for Elder Affairs. And the thing we know is that there's no place like home. And by providing home care services, that's where we keep costs down. That's where we save tax dollars. And we were just together this morning. We were at a meeting at 8 o'clock this morning at South Coast Hospital. And the first thing they talked about is how they're trying to keep their costs down by providing more services outpatient. It's not about putting people in hospital beds. Years ago, if you remember, folks, people would go to the hospital and stay 5 days to have a baby, have an operation, stay there 6 days. No longer the case. Now it's all about outpatient services, all about home care, all about outpatient. So we want to keep our elderly in the home. That's where that's the best and safest environment that keeps costs down, and that's where our elders need to be serviced.
And those are the trends. Those are the trends today because healthcare has gotten so expensive. We're living so much longer. And frankly, you know, I don't know about you all, but I know we all believe that to stay in your home and get those services is where you'll feel better. And so that's what we wrestle with. But another piece of good news I wanted to just make sure people knew is in the budget that came out, we were able to almost fully fund like Bristol Elder Services.
Yes.
So they didn't have to be one of those phone calls calling us up and saying please. So I think we and the Commonwealth understand how important senior programs are. We're going to be seniors one day, and we are.
What do you mean one day?
Well,
I'm not talking about you.
Carol, you.
I'm going to be a senior one day.
I
to be sure
I
those
should live
programs-
so long to see you a senior.
Those programs are going to be there hopefully for Mike and I too.
That's right.
So the senator.
Kids.
So that was good news. Bristol Elders got pretty much
Right.
everything that they wanted, and that's important.
Very important.
Anybody want to talk a little bit about funding for higher ed, for our public higher ed? Here we are at Bristol Community College, and it's a big priority, I know, of all of ours. Our two golden institutions down here on the South Coast, BCC and UMass Dartmouth. And
Tell them what we were able to do last year for BCC.
last year, and actually through the hard work of President Jack Sprague, all of the community colleges came together to develop a new funding formula that recognized the disproportionately low amount of funding that Bristol Community College received per pupil, per FTE, full-time equivalent. So we were able to put another, besides the annual operating budget, another $20 million separate pool of money that was distributed per a formula that all the community colleges agreed with, of which Bristol Community College received the highest amount from that formula.
Which was long overdue.
And it's
Long
based on
overdue.
performance.
It's based on performance and based on per capita, based on good matrices, and it's, you know, our community college, it's really not a system. There are really 16 independent community colleges. It's really not part of a system like the UMass system where there are 5 campuses under one system. And these systems came, these individual colleges came online at different periods of time and have different historical levels of funding. So we've been fighting long and hard. So I have to give all of you credit for, you know, finally being the momentum behind getting this funding.
Well, don't forget, when it leaves us, it goes to the Senate. But, you know, just to say how important this is, because when we look at educational attainment, especially for a place like Fall River, when we know where we are, and to look at how this blends, you know, we look at UMass Dartmouth and we look at Bristol Community College and how students now in high school at Durfee are able to take college classes, and what that means. No longer are people worried about, or should they be worried about saying, where am I going to get money to go to college? Listen, you can dream it, you can have it. You can start going to college when you're at Durfee. You can do this. We have to make that college dream more accessible, and we're doing that. And Bristol Community College is.
Well, I think
is
we've
that
changed
partner.
that paradigm here in the South Coast, that we are educating more of our young people, more than ever here in the South Coast. The biggest problem is retaining these smart young people and the brain drain. So more than ever, students from Fall River and the surrounding communities are going to college, whether it's BCC or UMass Dartmouth or Bridgewater, but once they graduate, keeping them here.
Please mention
Having
the
a
biopark.
Finding the
Good
employment
segue.
opportunities for them.
Well, it is, but I just also want to add, I just came, you know, before this session, a couple of hours on the UMass Dartmouth campus, and here we are on the Bristol Community College campus. And while there are more students attending these local, incredibly fine institutions. We've got to just remind our grandchildren, our children, our neighbors, you have to get a college education today, or a really good trade that you can get employable skills here for. Because if you don't have the college education, the technology skills and workforce needs are passing you by.
Right.
You have to have that. So having been to both of these institutions today, I invite all of you, if you're a grandparent, if you're someone who never even attended college, take a visit to one of the campuses. Drive over here to Bristol Community College, drive over to UMass Dartmouth, get out of your car and walk through the buildings. See what the energy on these campuses is all about, and it will give you motivation. Better yet, take a niece, a nephew, a grandchild with you and walk through, buy something in one of the cafes, watch the most incredible learning going on, and hopefully that will incentivize you to want to push your children, grandchildren,
Absolutely.
nieces and nephews to attend college, because that's where their future will be.
Yeah, Carol, I think I just heard, I'm sure you did too, that in Massachusetts today, 70% of jobs require a college degree. Junior, community college, or 4-year.
And that's why
but
we say
70% of the
no
jobs.
education, no job. It's as simple
Recent
as that.
employment numbers came out where Massachusetts, as a state, unemployment rate is down to 6.3%. We have more people working now in Massachusetts than any time in our history. Unfortunately, the unemployment rate in Fall River went up at the same period of time. And we're trying to change that. I mean, you know, it starts with educational attainment. It starts with making our region more attractable and attractive, I should say, to companies that are looking to expand and relocate. So it's really all hands on deck, but it's a long-term prospect. It's not something that's going to change overnight.
And we got to keep the kids in school. Our dropout rate out of high school is
now
too
I'm glad you brought
great.
keeping the kids in school, but also, and recently there's been a study on pre-K, universal pre-K, and the importance of getting kids in school early. You know, the sooner we can start a child in school, age 3, 4, the sooner we can get them reading. But you know, we look at a price tag of that, and we're held back by these price tags. The estimated cost, universal pre-K in Massachusetts, $1.5 billion. Oh, that's an incredible number. But if we look at targeted pre-K, targeted meaning looking at those communities that need it most right now, like gateway cities, like Fall River. And these children who, if they're not in school at that, look, a middle-class family and upper-class families, they know the importance of education. They know how important it is to get a child reading early. But some of our families are not, these children are not getting proper nutrition. That if we could get them,
not sleeping.
Right, if we could get them into school at age 3, what an incredible thing that would be. What an early start that would be to get them reading at an early age and get them familiar with school. Full day, it would free up people to go to work. It would lessen the subsidy for welfare and the need to subsidize these folks. So it would be a cost savings as well as getting people an early start in education, which is a good segue into jobs, Senator.
Jobs. Well, it's all about jobs, and we know that. We've been working very, very hard. By the time this show airs, we would have had an event up in Boston, the South Coast Life Science event, reception, where we are showing off our assets here on the South Coast to life science and biotech and real estate investors from Greater Boston, because it used to be inside of 128. Now it's inside of 495. It's booming. It's booming. The economy has never been better. But those are jobs that do require higher degrees of education. But those are jobs that we can satisfy here. And this biomanufacturing facility that is ready to open, a $31 million state investment, the only one of its kind in the world, that happens to be a state asset located here on the South Coast. We're hoping that will serve as the magnet to attract the private investment to create jobs in the brand-new Life Science Park that we have off of Route 24. Just like the ATMC did 15 years ago, was the public investment, the magnet that brought Meditech to the site.
And we're going to be meeting some of those folks on Tuesday evening this
Yes.
week, and that's
Yes.
You know, and I think one of the things that you talked about is, you know, there's long range planning and short range. Some of the budget items inject immediate capital into our community and into our programs that serve and help people. And then some of this work that we're doing is long range. We're finally seeing the realization of changes on the waterfront. We talk about that every time we come together. The next phase of that, which involves meeting after meeting and planning and working behind the scenes. And that's what we do as a body, as a team, to try to get those plans in motion. And you know, you just heard from Senator Rodrick, and I just wanted to make an announcement to the viewers, because we talked about being here at Bristol Community College. And the senator has served for so many years, and he's so knowledgeable on all of the areas of government and helping us. And so Bristol
Is
Community
this where we give him a
College-
cake?
Well, no,
I'm hungry.
not the key to the city either.
Yeah.
But during Bristol Community College, during its commencement, is going to honor our Senator Rodrick with the Outstanding Citizen Award. And so I want to say
Really?
congratulations
Oh,
to you.
Thank you very much, and it's quite a,
well deserved.
well, it's quite an honor, and we're just so happy as a team what we've done here to support this institution. It's really the jewel in the crown here in Fall River, and we'll be groundbreaking hopefully later this fall for a brand new science building that we've been working on, I think, for 10 years in planning and getting it to the top of the priority list. So there's a lot happening here at BCC, and there's great leadership here. I mentioned President Sprague earlier. He's just an incredible,
Yes, he is.
an incredible individual, and it's a great team of his staff here. So I'm honored.
What day is graduation? We want to
The
be
29th of May.
29th of May.
29th of
Well,
May.
we salute you
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
commend Bristol Community
you. Thank
College
you.
for choosing you, our colleague, and truly our tenured leader in the legislature.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Senator.
Thank you. I try to make commencement every year. It's an opportunity, you know, as legislators, you'll be invited. Take advantage of it. Here and at UMass Dartmouth, Chancellor McCormick would always, during commencement, would always ask of all the graduates, you know, if you are the first in your family to be receiving a college degree, please stand up. And to see, I want to say hundreds, if not thousands, you know, all these
It is an
students
incredible thing to
Very
see.
stand up
gratifying.
and to witness and to see the look of pride on their families' faces is just something that's it's hard to explain. Yeah.
I ran into a young man today at, as I said, at the UMass Dartmouth campus, and he was smiling, and I was walking with the chancellor, and he just stopped. What a pleasant young man. Hello, hello. He had a big smile on his face, and we introduced one another. He is an accounting major.
Yep.
He's the first in his family to attend college. His parents actually came from Haiti. He works 3 jobs. He's doing an internship this summer at Price Waterhouse, which is a big accounting firm, one of the leading firms in the country. And you just felt such pride. And really, that just shows you, it doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter whether you don't think you can do it. You can do it. We all saw that with the marathon. We saw that whether it was the victims running, whether it was their family members inspired to learn to run, whether it was watching Chris Herron and his team for the first time deciding to run a marathon. There were so many personal stories. But the point is, and I think we cannot say it enough, the future of our community is in educating
Absolutely.
its people. And there's a group that, you know, you didn't need an education years ago. You could work in the factory and bring home a good pay and provide properly for your family, and it didn't matter. But today, it's everything.
You know,
and so if you want to help change the economics of our community, encourage every young person you know to stay in school, study, and get an education.
You know, we say it's the DNA of economic development, and it truly is. And you know, the partnership that we have in this community, we talked about BCC, we mentioned UMass Dartmouth, but we have other folks. We have the Chamber of Commerce in that UpEd. I don't know, we've just been hearing little bits about that. That UpEd program where we're looking at, they're looking at educating and letting parents know how important it is to look at making education a priority in a child's life. So this partnership that is being developed here, not only with our schools, it's not just the job of school teachers or administrators or Bristol Community College or the Workforce Development Program or UMass Dartmouth. It's your job. It's all our jobs to make sure our children are educated and that the emphasis is on education. You know, we're one of the only countries in the world that takes 10 weeks off in the summertime. You know, we should be going to school all year. I'd like to see kids go to school all year. You know, have a couple of weeks off. We have that big break where we have to bring children back.
You just lost
Yeah.
the youth
I
vote.
understand.
You and the teachers, by the way.
They're in school. Look, when a child is in school, they're safe.
Yeah.
You know, we know where they are. They're getting more education. We start them after 10 weeks. We got to get them resettled. It takes weeks to get them back to where they were. We should do what the rest of the world is doing and keep them in school. And look, we're talking about extended school days.
Yeah.
We want to do that
Well,
with
Fall
Morton.
River is actually a model for the state in extended learning time. It's an amendment. Actually, I was the original sponsor 7 years ago. And the Custom Middle School, the Fonseca School.
It's worked out well.
It's worked out very,
Looking to
very
add
well.
Morton this year with
They're
the
looking
dollars.
they're
yeah.
looking to add Morton this year. And there's these other programs, not just the direct operating budget, you know, that we support through the so-called Chapter 70, but these other programs that we fund, the extended learning time, the Massachusetts Math and Science Initiative. Prior to Durfee joining Math and Science Initiative, they had, I think, 45 students successfully pass the advanced placement exam for college.
Yeah.
Over 300 last year. Over
That's
300.
incredible.
And we are one of the leaders in the state in that, aren't
We
we?
are absolutely one of the leaders in the
Something
state.
to really
Yeah.
be proud
Because we
of.
train the teachers, we train the students, we put all the proper mechanisms in place because of that grant, because
Yeah.
of those funding mechanisms.
Right.
And it shows that when you invest in education, the return is there.
Absolutely.
And that's really the bottom line. When you
Absolutely.
invest in education, whether it's by reading to your children, whether it's by putting money in the budgets as we try to do, investing in our teachers, it comes back to us.
Yep.
You know, and I know we only have a short time left, but a show just wouldn't be complete if we don't talk about South Coast Rail.
Absolutely.
Oh my
And,
gosh,
some
yes.
And we're way up there now.
Well, we have never been
Thank God.
closer to the reality than we are now, but
Making some progress this year.
why don't you talk about recently the meeting we had at Heritage State Park?
4 bridges. As part of the work that's going on this year,
And do you
we're
remember
going to
where the
be
bridges are?
redoing 4 bridges. One is the Country Club.
Country Club Road?
One is down the bottom of President Avenue.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And
McDonald's.
And what's the third
Burger
one?
King. The third
Third
is
one is a little north, between President Avenue and Country Club Road.
And then there's one over in New Bedford.
And there's one in New Bedford. We can't forget New Bedford because it's really been a teamwork from the South Coast
Yes.
legislators, both Fall
Yes.
River and New Bedford legislators working together.
Having the 2 delegations working together.
But that's that's $2.3 billion. Would it be?
How many zeros is that?
That's a
Quite
lot.
few.
That's more than I care to count. And
Yeah.
But we're further along with South Coast Rail than ever. And we, of course, now work on a governor that is going to be as committed as this governor was and has
We
been.
need to make sure that the next governor, whoever you look to vote for next governor, if you want South Coast Rail, you ask one question. Will you release the funds that were allocated and put aside and bonded, for South Coast
And
Rail?
of course, they'll all say yes, but see how they qualify that yes.
Yes.
You will get.
You know we're going to be on them. We'll work them over.
And I have to say, with Governor Patrick, it was an unqualified yes, and no one has done more.
Well, that's a good note to end on. That
Thank you very much, and I hope everyone's got their grills out and they're outside
Yes.
grilling up their hamburgers and hot dogs and enjoying this great May weather. So thank you once again. I'm Senator Rogers signing off once again on Voices from the Hill.
See you on the
Thank you,
streets,
everyone.
out near the waterfront and everywhere else.